Okay, today I'm going to start repairing this Empire train that I got for next to nothing. It's got some damage to it, and it was destined for the trash. But I'm going to see if I can fix it and see if it will make somebody happy. It's got a bunch of cracks here. It's got obviously this big hole, cracks around here. Crack goes around all the way to here. Got a crack on the corner down here, and the other crack down there. And then it's got cracks on the bottom of both wheels, both back wheels. So it's going to take a little bit of work. But what I'm going to do is start with this big hole, see if I can patch it. I'm going to try, and I've already tacked a crack here. I'm going to finish this welding this crack, and I'm going to try and weld these little cracks along here, get this piece where it's supposed to be, and then I'll cut some pieces of a milk jug to patch the hole up. It won't look perfect, but from 10 feet away it'll look okay, because most of this hole is part around here, and then from here up all of this will be painted red, so it won't be real noticeable. The only part that'll be noticeable is this piece right here. So with that, let's get started. Got the old trusty Welding soldering iron. Just going to clean the tip real quick with a piece of sandpaper. Get the black stuff off of it. And then I'm going to finish this crack. It starts right there and goes all the way up to this other crack. So I'm going to just run the tip down that crack and then smooth it out using the edge of the tip. There we go. Like I've said before, if you're using a soldering iron or a plastic welder, just keep the tip moving. Don't leave it in one spot, or you will melt the hole right through the plastic in just a couple of seconds. Move the camera over a little bit, maybe you can see better. You can see the crack right along here. Just gonna go across the crack, or you can go down the crack. You have to melt both sides of it and then kind of mix them together. And then when they cool, it will bond together. And you can, sometimes the plastic doesn't line up perfectly, but you can take your tip, once you've melted them together, you can take the tip and kind of smooth them out. I don't know if you can see it, but this side's not too smooth. You just don't want to keep doing it in too much, or you'll start burning the plastic and you'll get the brown. So now I'm going to try and get this piece of plastic. Try and weld some of these little cracks together. And once I weld the outside of it, Since it's easy to reach the inside through the part where Santa Claus sits, I'm going to epoxy the inside of it, just to give it some added reinforcement, because these trains, the corners of the engine are real thin and they crack real easy. So I'm going to epoxy it, all four corners of it, just to try and help it. Push that up with my thumb and then try and tack it. If it won't, then I'll just epoxy it. That piece doesn't want to flex. Sometimes if a piece is warped and won't line up, you can take a hair dryer and heat it to get it a little flexible, to get it to line up right, and then you can tack it in a couple of spots with the soldering iron to get it to hold in one spot, and then you can go back and do the whole crack. There's another crack over here. I'm going to try and weld up. But you can't see it real well on the video because of how it's angled. I'm going to try and get a piece of plastic right there. Does not want to line up, so we'll just use the soldering iron to melt it together and smooth it out. This engine has obviously been repainted. At some point in its past. And the paint is not holding up too well. So once I get it all fixed up, if it doesn't sell this holiday, then I will probably strip it and repaint it, and sell it again. I mean, it'll sell, it won't sell for much, but at least it won't go in the dump. I'm going to have to heat this part up a little bit and try and get this piece of plastic popped up to where it will line up with this one. So it's going to be noisy for just a second. Reach through the spot for Santa Claus. So it doesn't look like this is going to line back up. Made. I don't have any way to hold it and weld it at the same time, because I only have two hands. So there, I think that's about as good as it's going to get. Push up, push down, and get it together right there. Just be sure and keep the tip moving, because you'll burn a big hole. If it turns clear once you get it hot, like it did right there, that's okay, because once it cools, it'll turn white again. I'm just going across the cut of the break right here, and then I'll kind of smooth it out a little bit, and hopefully that will hold it. Yep. This spot didn't look like it had a real good bond going, so gonna do it a little bit more. You can tell when the plastic's bonded together, because you won't really be able to see a clear line where the melted plastic is. I mean, you can see where the paint came off, and you can see where the crack is. But if it's not bonded good, you'll see it right along here where the melted plastic came to. You'll see a definite line, and it'll look rough. So looks like this part came off, so I'm gonna redo it. Sometimes you have to use a tool to kind of help. So I can push up on this piece with the screwdriver tip, and push down with my thumb and get the two pieces to line up while I weld it. Where there's a will, there's a way. Sometimes you just have to sit back a little bit and figure out how to get it to do what you need to do. And I'm just going to scrape a little extra plastic over to the crack, and then smooth it out a little bit. It's not going to be perfectly smooth like it was when it was new, but you'll never get it perfectly smooth unless you spend hours and hours on it. Now go back to that part over there. You can see right here it's not lined up real good. Trying to work this little red part out. You don't want to put a whole lot of pressure on it because you'll crack it. So I'm going to heat it up. You heat it up first and it'll be more pliable. You can bend it. It's a little more flexible. If you just go to push it on there and trying to get it to line up across here, you run the risk of cracking probably right here, over here, and probably making this crack go longer. So I'm going to heat it up a little bit. Forget what I was doing. See? Now we get it pretty much even. I can just find my screwdriver. I can stick it through this hole. It's not going to work. So I need something longer and possibly bent a little like that's too big. Use a smaller one, it'll fit through that hole. But it's not going to reach over there. We'll try and do this left-handed then. Just get it tacked. Hopefully not burn my finger under there. Just gonna push up on the piece on the right. And that plastic gets hot, so be careful. You can burn yourself even with your finger on the other side of it. See how it's gotten clear? It's because it's hot and melting real good. Just let it cool for just a second. If you let go of it too soon, it'll just go right back to the way it was. There. And it's holding. It's not perfect, but you can come back and smooth it out some. I may put a layer of epoxy on here on the outside too. Kind of fill in that groove. I'm not ambidextrous, so I'm not sure how well this is going to turn out. I'm just trying to get it kind of tacked where it'll hold a little bit. I'm going to Scrape a little bit of plastic off the one side and kind of melt it into the groove. When it gets that hot that it's clear, it's real easy to poke a hole in it, so you have to be real careful. It looked like it was going to crack across here, so I'm just kind of going over it real lightly. It's not cracked, at least not all the way through. And just a reminder, when you're excuse me, when you're smoothing it out with the tip, like going along the where you just welded, be careful of where this edge right here is, because it's hot too. And if you're touching the tip along here, it's real easy to let that edge touch, like I did over here. Luckily, it just scratched the paint off, but it will burn through that plastic real fast, and then you'll have another problem that you'll have to fix. So on this particular one, it's got enough problems that I have to fix. Everything seems to be holding. I don't know if you can see it, but right in that little corner, there's a little hole. And there's a piece of plastic pushed way up in there. It's so small that if I try and use my finger to push it up, I'm going to get burned. So I'm going to use the screwdriver if I can tell where I am. If I can find that spot. Well, or I may just melt a piece of plastic to fill that hole in. The plastic is there, it's just like a little flap that's broken off. I guess it's hot. Okay, I think I got it up in there. There's one crack right on this front edge that's about that long that I'm going to weld real quick. The plastic is still lined up good, so all I'm going to do is weld it real quick and it should be good to go. Okay. Now I'm going to Get my camera up where you can see it. See this little flap sticking out where the plastic's kind of warped. I'm going to weld it back in place. The way this paint is right in this particular spot, it's kind of hard to tell where the crack is. This plastic on the top of these trains is really thin for some reason. I don't know why they made it so cheap. But they did. I don't know if it was something in the welding process that this particular part of the mold didn't, in the manufacture process, where this part of the mold didn't get much plastic, or why, but it's, the top is the thinnest part on this train. So there, when that cools, it'll be okay. So now I'm gonna cut a piece of plastic to kind of come to that hole. It's gonna be hard to match it real close because it's a corner. So I'm gonna take a corner of, not sure what kind of jug this was, but it was clear plastic. I've sprayed painted on it a couple of times just to see how the paint looked. But I'm going to take a corner off of it and see how it lines up with that corner. And how much epoxy I'm going to need to fill in. It won't need to be more that way. And then it'll match up fairly well. I can heat this edge up and push it down level. So what I'm going to do, I had some packing tape out here. There it is. And a razor blade, and I'm going to take a piece of packing tape, just a regular clear tape. Stick this back under here, and I'm going to tape one side of it, and I'll put a piece of tape on the inside to hold it up close. If I can find the end of my tape, and then I'll slap the first coating of epoxy on there, the first of probably many. I'm going to push that forward a little bit. Okay, apologize if it gets wobbly. You can see how it's kind of got the basic shape of the corner, so I'm going to put some epoxy right here and right here, just enough to hold it on there. And then I'll come back after that cures. I will come back with the strip of that same plastic or different piece, whatever I find. I'll cut a couple of strips off of here and put one across there on the inside, one coming up here on the inside, and then a small piece from inside coming on top of this piece up to about here. And then I will cover it all with epoxy. Once that cures, then I'll take this tape off and the tape off the inside. I'll put epoxy around here and build it up to where it's about the right height is this part and this part and this part, and then fill it in till it's as high to where it looks halfway decent. I mean, it'll never look perfect because all the plastic's gone. If I had the pieces that came off of there, it would make it a whole lot easier. So if you break a blow mold like this, don't ever throw the pieces away. Sometimes you have to fit them together like a jigsaw puzzle, but if you can fit all the pieces that broke off of here back together, you can put this clear packing tape on the inside to hold it into place, put epoxy over it. Once that cures, take the tape off the inside, epoxy the inside of it, and then you may have to touch some paint up over it, but it will look a lot better than doing it this way. So let me put the epoxy on there, and then we'll be done for today. Oops. My fat fingers hit something, I don't know what. Let's get it back over here where you can see. I'm going to squeeze some epoxy up under there, and then right in here. And then right here. I use the E6000. When I use it, to me it's easier. You don't have to mix anything. The drawback to it though is that it takes 24 hours to cure. But it works just as well. I'm just pushing a little epoxy underneath the pieces of the mold to make sure that it sticks to it good. And by just doing a couple of spots, it'll give it a little bit of flexibility, so that if I need to like push up on this part or over here somewhere to get the two pieces close together, it will have that ability to flex. Whereas if I just dropped a whole bunch of epoxy all the way around every spot that I could, then I wouldn't be able to move it later if it needs to. I'll make another video tomorrow or the next day when I take the tape off and try and epoxy some more on there. This is a multi-day job. It's not going to happen in one or two sessions. So stay tuned because there will be more. You can click the subscribe button and you'll get a notification through YouTube when the next one's up. And subscribe to the channel. Click the like button if you like what you see. Any comments, suggestions? I'm always open to suggestions if you know a better way to do this. I'm going to go ahead and put some epoxy on the outside of this crack, since I'm going to wait for that to cure anyway. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll sign off. You have to forgive us old people. We sometimes get distracted, and plans change in the middle of things. I'm not going to put a whole lot on the outside, but on the inside I'll put a decent amount. Just kind of smooth it out a little bit so that there's not a real noticeable line along there. And once the paint is touched up, it won't be noticeable unless you get right up on it and know what you're looking for. But anyway, click the like button, the subscribe button if you want to. Thanks for watching.